Welcome to the Joy Inspired podcast. I'm Nikki Cruise, and I'm thrilled to explore with you what it means to walk in a faith-infused business. This is your space to find powerful tools and insights, to build with resilience, and to create impact through your unique purpose, discovering a joy that only God can provide. Together, let's embrace a business journey anchored in faith and empowered by joy. Let's jump in. Well, hi there, beautiful folks. It's Nikki Cruise, your favorite joy junkie. And if I'm not your favorite joy junkie, please introduce me to your favorite joy junkie. We're here again for another episode of the Joy Inspired podcast, where faith meets purpose and joy fuels resilience. Because, as I so often say, the joy is not what you get at the end of the journey. It's what sustains you. It's what gives you the strength to get through the journey. And God has given us this incredible joy. So I'm your host, Nikki Cruise, and today's guest radiates both light and leadership and so much joy. Wendy Corner helps introverted entrepreneurs write, publish, and promote. Yes, introverts, you heard me. She helps those people bring something so valuable out that for so long they might have believed just gets to be tucked away in their timid selves. God gave you a message and gave you a story, and I am super excited to help her or have her share today how she helps you write, publish, and promote the book that builds your business, transforming your messages from promise to page to stage. And she's not only a publisher and a speaker, she's the founder of Your Words Have Power. And her story of healing through voice, yes, the introvert's voice came out. Her story of healing through voice is so inspiring. Wendy's passion is helping others find the freedom, visibility, and purpose through storytelling. And I am super excited to have her here. Wendy, welcome to the Joy Inspired podcast.
Thank you so much, Nikki. It is absolutely an honor to be interviewed by you on your podcast because joy, yes, it's where we're going, isn't it? Has to be.
It definitely, I believe that joy is the strength that gets us there. And your business empowers introverts to own their message and shine. And that's where people find joy. But what first inspired you to step into that space?
Okay, well, we're going to go back in history. This is something that I've shared with on my socials this very week as we're recording it. I appreciate this is not going out this week. I had an experience when I was 2. A little 2-year-old decided that it would be fun to take the bones away from the dog because the dogs weren't taking any notice of me. So my finger became the bone. Now, back in the 60s, parents were not allowed to stay in hospital with their children. So when I needed surgery on this finger, let's just say it got infected. You don't want to go into the details. I didn't remember this because I put this away for safekeeping. My earliest memory, which surfaced over 50 years later, was of double doors closing with this little 2-year-old on one side, yelling and screaming, "Mommy!" And she didn't come. She wasn't allowed to come. Now, what I can now appreciate as an adult is Mum on the other side must have been a total wreck, hearing her baby screaming and shouting and knowing that she couldn't do anything about it. Little 2-year-old made the decision, my voice doesn't matter. It can't do. I mean, she's not coming for me. But everybody else's voice does matter because I witnessed her going to talk to all sorts of other people, but just not me. Now, that little script, I don't matter, my voice doesn't, well, it started off with my voice doesn't matter and then just sort of catastrophized into I don't matter. that was running all the way through life at an unconscious level. My choice of profession was a speech pathologist because everybody else's voice mattered, and I didn't want anyone feeling the same way that I had, not on my watch. But it was only much, much later that that particular thought came to mind, that uncovered that internal script. And that's why God went, yeah, it does. Seriously, it does. Because most people were looking at me and going, well, you're an extrovert. What's the problem? You can talk to anybody. In fact, my father used to say I could talk all four legs off a donkey and still persuade it to walk. Thanks, Dad. The point was that after my husband passed very suddenly, I was a widow at 43, and I had never been on my own before, ever. I had had 2 nights in my life where I'd been on my own. What came up was actually I was a situational extrovert. Deep down, I enjoy working, I enjoy being with people, but I also need to withdraw because I get all peopled out. So from that perspective, I can relate to the underlying, ooh, you want me to share my story, really? From an introvert perspective, and also from the my voice doesn't matter. There you go. It's a long-winded origin story.
Oh, wow. And you mentioned how God has uncovered that. And isn't it amazing how we build up our own stories that
Oh, yeah.
hide and cloister our real and true story? And
Yes.
I know that you have walked in faith, and you've mentioned that your faith and personal healing journey have played a huge role in shaping your calling. And you had some disappointments in God responding in different ways to what you expected along the way.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
as a faith-centered entrepreneur, and at that stage, I don't think you were an entrepreneur yet, but
No, I
as a
wasn't.
faith-centered woman, can you share how God guided you through the process that has led you to now letting go
Oh,
and living lighter?
it wasn't an easy one. It wasn't one that I anticipated. I mentioned earlier that my husband passed very suddenly. I went off to work. We'd just been celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary. I went off to work, came home, found him dead in front of the computer. He had been mentally unwell for 15 of the 20 years we'd been married. And I had been praying, focused prayer. Come on, God, what are you doing? Heal him, heal him, heal him. I know you've done it for other people. Why not for Jeff? We went past the 7-year. Oh, Jubilee. No. We went past the 14-year. Oh, Jubilee. No. So then when I found him gone, and by the way, it wasn't suicide, it was a massive heart attack. I was going, God, what are you playing at? That night, I didn't sleep very well. That's a surprise. I had lost in one fell swoop my identity as wife and carer. And so where did that leave me now? What you can imagine the ruminations, the ideas going around in my head. What on earth was going on?
Yeah.
And as I lay in my bed, Jeremiah 29:11 came to me. I've got plans to prosper you, give you a future, give you a hope. And then underneath that was, Jeff wasn't coming along for the ride. He was determined that he wasn't going to get better. So God was saying, I took him home. You've still got life in you. And the phrase that came to mind for me was that he was sucking the life out of me. So the healing that I'd been praying for was mine after Jeff left.
Yes.
There was
Oh,
also some survivor guilt in there, going, why am I special rather than him? No, he's at peace now. His mind was all over the place.
yeah.
But his healing didn't come the way I thought it was going to. And I've had a few conversations with God about, what are you playing at? Like when I got sacked from my job as a speech pathologist, there was another identity suddenly poof, gone. Now what? Well, now you're going to help people get their message out to the world.
Yeah. And it's so true, Wendy, that, as you say, God had the plan, and He is sovereign. And when we recognize that, it doesn't mean we can't say to Him, hey, what's going on here? But it
Yes.
does mean we get to follow and trust that He has our best at heart. And it's in that moment when we say, God, I'm going to find peace in knowing you are in control, that you have a plan. That's where the joy comes in. That's how you have joy in all circumstances. Because, folks, I'm sure you'll agree with me. I doubt Wendy was sitting there going, oh, what a joyful day, on of those occasions. But we say it over and over again. Joy isn't about bubbling and jumping up and down and having this big grin on your face. Joy is that deep-seated knowing that God's got your back, knowing that His promises are true and that they are for you. And for some reason, I just feel that there's someone listening to this that really needs to hear that right now. God's promises are for you. They may not look the way you expect them to look, you know, but they are true, and they are true for you. And it's not like that little 2-year-old girl saying everybody else's voice matters and mine doesn't. You matter to God. I really feel like God is calling this out to someone.
Yes.
So you do matter. And you know what? All of those situations God has used in Wendy's life as she stepped up and surrendered those circumstances to Him, because boy, that was quite some surrender. Okay, God, I'm going to trust you, even though I don't think you did the right thing here. We forget who's God and who's the people sometimes. And, you say that your words have power and you help other people and women bring that power out. I absolutely love that. But what does that actually mean to you, especially for somebody who feels unseen and unheard, as you've shared you did? And maybe you even felt unseen and unheard by God at some point in that.
Yeah. And I have I do a prayer journal. So as you can imagine, I'm all about words. And I find my best conversations with God quite literally are with a pen in my hand. So very often I'll read a passage, I'll write down my thoughts about it, and then I change the pen, literally from a black to a blue, or whichever. I change the actual pen and go, okay, your turn. And out comes some very interesting things. And some of the times you get, well, I would never have said that. So I know it's not my words. And I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, God's got a phenomenal sense of humor. Some of the things that come out are going, oh, I like that. You go, yeah, you did, didn't you? You had a bit of a chuckle there. So this conversation goes on, and you were mentioning about surrender. There have been a number of occasions in life where I have said, I will do this, but I won't do that. And God's gone, really? And I'll give you a quick example on that one. When I was finishing university, where was I going to look for a job? Now, this is back in '88. And I was studying in London, and I hated it. I had grown up in rural villages all my life. And suddenly I'm landing in the city of London. And I don't just mean the environs, I mean actually in the city, because I went to City University. And within the first week, I had a major chest infection because of the pollution. I was not used to this. So when it came to where was I going to look for a job, I'll work anywhere you want, Lord, except for London. Lee. I had so many job applications in, and only one of them offered me one in Welsh Wales, where they were all speaking Welsh. And I went, oh, and it took me 8 hours to get back to my parents and going, no, 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 no. Once I put in an application for a job in London, guess what? I got my next application not in London. And God's going, let's not do the white flag next time, hey? Not last minute surrender. Let's do it early on in the piece, shall we?
Oh, I love that story because it is so true. You know, we start dictating to the master, and but yeah, he knows those plans. He's laid them out, and he loves to honor what we want, but he knows what's best for us. You
Yes.
know, it's like a little 2-year-old who wants candy before dinner, you know? Yes, you
Mhm.
would love to give them candy before dinner, but you know what that's going to do for them. So
Exactly.
we forget that our Papa God is like that. We often, think we get to negotiate. And yeah, we get to, but it doesn't work out very well at the end of the day. And
No, indeed.
everything you went through and everything that you chose to step into God with led you to this place of letting go and living lighter.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
this is, I met you, I think, well, at the beginning of this letting go and living lighter journey of publishing. And because let me tell you, every
Yeah.
time I speak to Wendy, you have to try and figure out what country she's in, what time zone
Where in the
she's
world
in.
is Wendy? Yes.
Yes. And it's been a beautiful journey, totally different to what it was before. As
Oh,
you as you've stepped into that surrender. Tell us
yeah.
about your letting go and living lighter.
Well, I'd been the first book in the series was around letting go of the stuff. I was born into a family of hoarders. I married into a family of hoarders. I lost father-in-law, mother-in-law, brother-in-law, and husband in the space of 10 years. So all of their stuff ended up in what was then my house. And then God was going, yeah, look at how you new start. You're going to Australia. I am. So I then had 3 houses to reduce down to, in effect, 30 medium-sized boxes. That was fun. By hoarding, let me give you an example of that. My father-in-law had tax returns back to 1965. Just saying, there was a lot to go through. So once we got that down, and I didn't take any furniture with me because, well, hello, I'm going to Australia. I can pick up secondhand stuff. Not a problem. So the most important things to me went in the container. Fast forward 10 years, and I hadn't changed the mental script about scarcity. I'd grown up in hoarding environment. My parents were, well, my father's favorite saying was, do you need it? Can you do without it? Therefore you will. So there was always that almost mantra running around my head. So I had 10 years of accumulation as well as the 30 boxes. So when God said, we're on the move, to what? Because the thing was, my business was going nowhere. I hadn't had any income for 18 months. My parents had passed during this time, so I had some inheritance money. Thank you. That was the cushion. And God was saying, yeah, I want you to move. Where I was staying was with a family who I love them to bits. They were very generous. They gave me far reduced rental cost. I was in a granny flat above them. However, there was an energy that wasn't good for me. And God had been saying for a while, leave. Where will I go? Leave. I can't afford it. Leave. In the end, there were 2 people independent of each other who would never have known each other, and apart from through me, both said to me within the space of 3-4 weeks, why don't you come and live in Malaysia for a bit? Sort of change of scenery, change of pace of life, change of cost of living. You can still maintain your overseas clients, not that I had any, but with lower cost of living. I've done the migration thing. I'm not doing that again. But when the second person said exactly the same thing, you're trying to tell me something? So I did a 72-hour water fast. Set my intention. Okay, Lord, I need clarity. Day 1, nothing. Day 2, nothing. Day 3, yes, off you go. You're going to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, and you're going in 7 weeks with only 20 kilograms of luggage. That's 44 pounds in American speak. And you've got to get rid of everything else in between. What? There was a lot of mental letting go that had started this journey. Now, the reason, and I say this in the first book, the reason this was a God idea and not a good idea was because, one, I hate humidity. And here I am going to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Oh, really, Lord? Seriously? Secondly, at the time I had a gluten issue. All the local food is made with soy sauce or MSG. That meant I had to do all my own cooking, which reduced the sort of places I could go and stay in, Airbnbs with kitchen necessity. Thirdly, remember I said about London and I was grown up in rural villages? I thrive in the countryside, and here I was in a concrete jungle. Seriously, God? Are we surrendering? Have we learnt yet? I'm going to grow you through it. I'm not punishing you. I'm going to grow you through it. Okay. Yeah, you got 7 weeks to do it. Oh, and by the way, you're writing a book about it too. I am? My life with 20 kilos. Go to it. Well, that was January 2024. I left Perth on the red eye on the 29th of February and landed in Malaysia on the 1st of March. And I have been living with 20. I admit it's got to 23 kilos now. The reason being, I've now got 5 books out. And as an author, you want to have a copy of your own physical book. That's 3 compilations, all international bestsellers. My first solo book, which came out in June, which was, I'll do a quick flash, if you can see it, From Hoarder to Hand Luggage. Yep. And the 5th book in the series, If George Lucas can do top and tail and fill in between, why can't I? That one came out in the last couple of months. We've had a soft launch. We haven't done a hard launch yet. As we're recording this is November. It will, by the time you guys see it later on, it will be absolutely out. And it's called I Get By With a Lot of Help from My Friends. Because here I am at 60, running around the world on my own. I quite honestly could not get by without all the beautiful people around me. So that's the celebration of that. So yes, I'm on this journey. Books 2, 3, and 4 will be coming in next year. The reason it's not a 1-book job, as God had told me, was because when I was running my From Promise to Page group in the November last year, I was joining in and doing my work. And the feedback I got was, Wendy, there's too much information for 1 book. Make it into a series. Oh, okay. So that's why we're doing that. So
and if any of you are sitting there wondering, well, how do I find these amazing stories? Check the comments. I put Wendy's contact details in there, so you can just go and click and link up with her. Because there's one thing that's amazing about books, they're timeless. It doesn't matter when this podcast aired. If you're watching it today, you can click on those links today, and those books will still be out there in existence, and you can still connect with Wendy because she's still out there in existence. In which country? We don't know, because she's letting go and living lighter. And every time she brings in a few kilos, she's going to have to let go of a few kilos. But so I just love your story, Wendy. I love how you've stepped into surrender with God. I love how you have heard what He's been saying to you. And even though it's been with a bit of objection, stood in obedience. Okay, God, yeah, okay, God, I'll do it. Not sure why or what, but I'll do it. And that's what's brought you to flourishing and the fruit. But what is, the all of these introvert entrepreneurs who are listening and are wanting to step into being someone they believe they are not. You don't have to
Mhm.
step into someone you are not. You just have to speak out who you are. Please don't confuse that. But
Mm.
I would love for you to give our viewers one mindset shift or simple action that helps people step forward with more courage.
Okay. Well, this is where my rewire process comes in, because this is going to be book 3 in the series. First off, you work out, what is it I've been telling myself? Write it down. What's the little story? For me, it was, my voice doesn't matter. Everybody else's does. Secondly, exhale the emotional stuff around that. And some breath work is handy. That's it, acknowledging the anxiety, the really that goes along with that script. Thirdly is the W, wonder. Is there ever a time where that script could be helpful? My voice doesn't matter. Nope, nope, because you can throw the baby out with the bathwater in that case. There may be occasions when actually context specific, that could be helpful. I've got another example for that, but we'll carry on with this one. I, for investigate, when you say that phrase to yourself, that little story, whose voice are you listening to? Is it yours? Is it a teacher? Is it a parent? Because very often those words were said over you and you agreed with them. Not probably as a survival mechanism, because the smaller you were, these were the caregivers. If you went against them, what would happen to you?
Yeah.
So a little bit of self-compassion on that one. But you can hear the I in Rewire. Investigate. Whose voice is this? Does it actually make sense anymore? Because that's when you come onto the R. Oh golly, I've run out of fingers in the right order. The R for rewire is reframe. How can I say that so it actually does serve me? So for me, I went from my voice doesn't matter to everybody's voice matters, including mine.
Yeah.
So there was only a subtle shift in the original, but oh boy, was it magnified when I said it out loud over and over and over again, because those thought patterns have been neural pathways within your brain. Think about the Grand Canyon. It's taken a long time to get deeply in like that. Mine didn't uncover for over 50 years. So you can imagine the number of times that was repeated. The last E is embrace. Embrace your new mental script. Say it over and over again. Have it written down. Because the thing is, I said that was a deep neural groove. Oh, you're going to go into that default one. No, I am saying over me what God says about me,
Yes.
not what I say about me. My voice matters.
Yeah.
I trust that helps.
It does. It does. So make sure you take a note of that, folks, because there is so much power in it. And we always get to look at how does what I'm thinking, saying, and doing align with God's word, align with the Father heart of God. And, we often will stop there and go, okay, God, as Wendy did, this doesn't make sense. How on earth am I going to get rid of all this stuff? You know what? We get to step out in the joy of faith and act in obedience. Act on the what. Let God worry about the how. Just
Yes.
like Wendy said, you know, there were two people who suggested what was to change. But she might have sat there and gone, but don't have the plane ticket. I don't have the. Let God worry about the how. As soon as you
Exactly.
start trying to create the how, and that's why God often only shows us one step at a time, is because otherwise we take control and we start steering
Yep.
instead of standing in faith and let God opening the next door. We start opening doors that are going to take us in the wrong direction. So,
Yes.
Pendy, I am going to ask you one final question. In fact, it's not the
Mhm.
final question, but has there been a time when you have chosen very clearly purpose over pressure? And I think we've heard of a couple already, but purpose in particular. And give us an example so our listeners can relate.
Purpose over
Pressure.
pressure. That's a good one. The me do it. Don't forget, this was a little 2-year-old who had the abandonment experience. There are plenty of examples in my life where the belligerent little 2-year-old has gone, me do it. And God's gone, really? How did that work last time? And again, the little 2-year-old has had a little grump. The pressure to do, and organize things myself has been very real, and it still is, I'll be honest, because whilst I'm running around the world writing and supporting some authors through, we had a great success in publishing one of our authors this last week. There's still, I have those mindset things coming back again about the lack. And God saying, it's also about your time. How many years have I been talking to you about taking rest? Mm-hmm. As a child, my father used to liken me to the ever-ready bunny, or the Duracell bunny. Now, this was long before the little bunny. Do you remember the advert with the toy bunny that was drumming and drumming and drumming, and they compared different batteries? As a child, even as a toddler, I would push myself to do until I just was exhausted. And I'd go and sleep for 24 hours. So whether it's a FOMO thing, and again, how many 2-year-olds do you know who fight and fight going to bed? And even when they're in their bed, they fight to sleep because they don't want to miss anything. And God's really challenging me, and still has to challenge me regularly, going, stop, rest. Because that's a sign of trusting Him.
Yes.
God, this, and this to do. Do you think I don't know that? Yeah. Trust me and rest. I offer that to you with humility and go, I'm still a work in progress.
Well, aren't we all? And the beautiful thing that I know about God is He honors us. He honors our growth journey too. He doesn't throw you out because you made a mistake. That's not my Papa God. But you know what else? He loves you enough to want you to rest, but our rest actually honors God, not just the obedience of our rest. But our rest in itself honors God. It allows our bodies, our minds, our spirits, and our joy to rejuvenate, to come back. So, absolutely beautiful. So, Wendy, my last question for you obviously is, what role does joy play in your everyday life? And how do you maintain that when the pressure's on?
Oh, yes, exactly. Well, the joy of the Lord is my strength. Yeah, that can trip off the tongue easily enough. And again, what does that look like in real life? Well, God has a habit of showing me it's a fun thing. Playfulness is part of my makeup, and I know this has come from God because, as I said to you when we were starting to talk about the prayer journal, his sense of humor shines through. And there'll be something I look at. It's like I was doing a gratitude practice. I was doing a gratitude challenge. And one of them was, what's something that you've never noticed before and could be thankful for? And I was listening to this chap talking about it as I picked up a tea bag. Perforations. I go, what do you mean perforations, God? He went, well, without the little perforations in your tea bag, the flavour wouldn't flood out, to quote a Tetley advert in the UK years ago. Without the perforations, we couldn't take the toilet paper off the roll easily. Without them, and he got me thinking about perforation. Got me laughing, got me chuckling. Now, that was on a day when I was feeling particularly down. So it was, okay, I can do this. If you're open, God's going to show you some interesting slants on life. And if you're in anything like me, it'll make you laugh and you'll get that. Okay, I'm having a crappy day, but thank you for that, Lord. And it takes you out of it.
It does. Oh, that's beautiful. And I never thought about that, all the variations of perforations. I think I'm going to put a Facebook post up that says, what do perforations mean to you? All
Yes.
righty, folks. So Wendy, thank you so much for being here, for sharing
Thank
your
you.
journey, sharing your heart and wisdom with us, and your story. And your story certainly reminds us that when we find peace in God's timing, when we find peace in our surrender to God and give Him the control, we make space for miracles. We make space for our voice to come out. We make space to impact the world with who we are. And our voices do become a vessel for healing, not just for ourselves, but for those around us. So you can connect with Wendy at yourwordshavepower.com or click on the link in the description below. And I think I might.
I'm just going to pick you up on that. Yourwordshavepower.com is not my website. Okay.
Okay.
ywhp.events.
Okay. You can connect with Wendy at that address.
Check the show notes, guys. Check the show notes. We'll make sure it's absolutely clear there.
And just remember that your stories matter. And you know what? The person next to you, that quiet friend of yours, their stories matter too. So be sure to be listening to their voice and not be so worried about you not being heard that you forget to hear them. But also, if you had fun today, if you had a good giggle along with us today at all these different experiences Wendy's had, please remember to share this, like it, invite a friend to listen who may need to be stepping into this space to recognize their story matters. Because when you live out who you truly are, that is where you have so much joy. And remember, the joy is what gets you through all the times when you're going, yeah. So I encourage you, choose joy. It is a choice, regardless of your circumstances, and choose to let God help you with the strength to get through any challenges and to celebrate at the end. You don't have to pick one. So, from me, your favorite joy junkie, and with huge thanks to our guest, Wendy Corner, blessings and see you next week on the Joy Inspired Podcast. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me on the Joy Inspired Podcast at www.joyinspiredpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming and you don't want to miss it. So make sure to hit that subscribe. I am so grateful for all the reviews and comments, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.